Hey everyone, when you open the US Soccer Learning Center, you're going to want to go to the planning section. Then you've got graphics, training exercises, and training sessions. Um, you're going to want to do all your planning in this section. Sometimes if you go to your course or your classroom and then go to the assignments, it will let you create a graphic or exercise or training session in the assignment. I would not recommend doing that because after you create it, it is very difficult to edit and modify those graphics. Um, it's very difficult to find them. So I would recommend going here first and starting from graphics every time. So even if you want to build a training session, start from graphics right away. So even if you come here and you want to start with a training session, you should build all of your graphics for that training session first, then your training exercises, then the training session. Um, so we'll start with graphics. I have mine here for my training session, but say I wanted to make a new one, call it whatever. Then you've got your editor. So I'm gonna spend a little bit of time showing how this editor works for the graphics. If you don't want to watch this part and you already understand this, go ahead and look down at the YouTube video where the timeline is. You should see a graphics section, an exercises section, and then a training session section. You can go ahead and skip to the exercises section where I'll move on to the copying and editing and stuff like that moving forward. But just to go ahead and start, so right here, see, it's not perfect, it's a little bit odd, but you have your triangles and circles. So your circle is going to be on one side and your triangles are going to be on another. You can change the size of these here. So if I want this triangle to be bigger, I can make it 3, and it's going to be really big once I hit enter, right? I can add cones. Again, it's a little bit wonky, but it works. This happens, sometimes it doesn't happen. You just have to deal with it. Not much I can say about that. So you can put cones down however you like. Say I am going to work on defending. So I want to get a one-on-one situation maybe with these huge players. And because this is just an example, they have pretty much no objective. They're just going to move. So you have these arrows, so maybe this guy's going to run this direction with the ball, or that's actually a pass or a shot. So what I can do is click on this, and if I want to make it a dribble instead, I can just make it snaked, right? So if he was supposed to dribble, I don't have to go and delete and remake that arrow. I can just go ahead down here and select snaked instead. And that same if he's supposed to be moving, I can go ahead and change it to dashed. So that's pretty simple. And with everything in here, you have colors at the bottom. So you can change this guy to be black, right? And then if you think that's fantastic, I've changed both to black, but now that's odd, right? You can't see the numbers, so you can change anything in here. You can change the number of the players down here. Click off, see his number changes, and then you can move them around all over the field. So the arrows, that's how the players move. You've got text, which is helpful, but I haven't used that very much. When you want to put the coach in, you can go ahead and go to this section on the left. Then you've got all these players. Just go ahead and select the coach. When you are using the coach, you have all these options right here to decide where they're facing. So if my exercise is here and the coach is facing this direction, I want him to face side left. So that now it's pretty obvious, okay, my coach is facing the direction of the session, he's involved, and he knows what's going on. And then again, I can change the size, make him really big for some reason, and now he's a giant. Then go ahead and change his colors on his clothes, and however you want it to look. So you've got cones, goals, everything is here. So now that you understand that a little bit better, this button does what it says. It's save in progress, but for some reason it is a bit odd and sometimes doesn't work exactly like you want it. So whenever I'm done with my changes, or I am done doing what I want to do for the moment, I'll just go ahead and hit save and exit. I'm happy with that. It's always going to save here. So if you hit save and exit, it'll kind of refresh, show it in this menu for you. Then you can go back and edit it when you want to. Then again, some people were questioning why there's 3 save buttons. This save and exit and this save button are the exact same thing. This save button only shows up once you have finished either your graphic, exercise, or your training session. So it does the same thing, but if I hit save here, it's going to take me out back to the graphics section, and here we are again. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what it's like to I'll go ahead and go to the training exercise. Well, okay, so here I'll show you how to do a different graphic, right? So maybe on my training exercises I want a more challenging and less challenging for this 1v1 situation I've created. So you've got edit, this little, if you hover over your graphic, this little pen here, if you click on that, it's the same exact thing as going here and saying go to graphic. Okay, that'll give you the option to edit it. If I hit this button where there's 2 squares, it's 2 pages, right? So it's a copy. You hit copy there, and it says copy of yada yada yada, whatever I made before. So I'm gonna have my new exercise, and if I go to editor, we go ahead and we see, okay, it's the same exact thing we had before, right? So maybe now this is my less challenging, right? So it's defense, it's less challenging, so there's no attackers. He's really, really good at defending. Okay, so I'm going to hit save or save and exit, either one. I prefer to hit save and exit because it's pretty consistent. Then there you go. So I've got my less challenging and then my more challenging. And you can name it right here. If I wanted to name that less challenging, I can, since I clicked on it this time, it didn't take me directly to the edit, so I can click edit and go ahead and say less challenging, right? Hit next and save. Okay, so this will download it for you, this graphic, and then this will delete it, and then this zooms in. So this X deletes it, this downloads it. So let's go ahead and move on to the training exercises. And for some people that have skipped to this part, I'll go over the copying and stuff again. So if you're going to make your new exercise, all you're really doing is taking your graphic from before, putting it into an exercise, and kind of saying, okay, here's the graphic and here's what's going to happen with it. So you're going to hit create new, put in all your information. This is demo, age group, I'm doing defending, let's say opponents, defending opponents from scoring goals. Just quickly, really quick things to get it moving, so you can hit next. You can, if you feel worried that this will not save, which I've had no problems with, you can go ahead and hit save and exit right here. It will leave this for you pretty blank because you've only put in one section. You just have to go to exercise and edit, and then you're right back here. All this is saved, and you can move on with this again. I would recommend whenever you're done, or if you feel unsure about something, just go ahead and hit save and exit again. It should save everything for you. So if you type all this stuff in, you have your questions, notes, whatever, move on, then you have this graphic. So I went ahead and made the graphics before, but it's going to allow you to create a graphic. I personally would not recommend doing a graphic from inside of the training exercises or training sessions section, because what will happen is, for example, earlier I was in the training sessions section making it my session. I hadn't made my play 1 phase yet, so I went ahead and made an exercise, but I didn't make a graphic for that yet either. So I got into all these different paths, and eventually this system just decides that it doesn't know where it's at anymore. So you have to make the graphics first, and then put them into the exercises, and then put those exercises into the training session. So do it right from the start, graphics first always, then exercises, then sessions. Do not go in here and create a new one, because sometimes it doesn't want to save. A lot of weird things can happen. So just make sure you make your graphics first, then your exercises, then your session. Don't go the other way around. So you've got this in here. You can, if you want to, so this is my core. If I don't like this, I can exit out, hit select graphic, and get a less challenging one. Hit go to graphic, and then select. There we go, so I can move forward with that one. Looks like I'm pretty happy with this. Let's move on. I don't have any files I want to add, and then we'll just select the number of players. So here you can do whatever you want. Mine is 1v1, or for this graphic is a 0v1, but this is just for an example. You put your duration in. Make sure you put a number. So for example, if you put 15 to 20, when you go to the exercise, the duration will be 0. You have to put a number on its own, completely a number. Okay? If you put anything else in there, the duration will not show on your exercise when you put it into the training session. So you can go ahead and hit save and exit. It's the same as that button down there. Say I wanted to make a duplicate of this demo. If I go ahead and hit go to exercise, and then more actions, I can hit copy right here. So for the people who saw it in the graphics already, it's the same thing. See, it says copy of demo, so I'm going to say demo core, because this is going to be just the core graphic I made. So I'm going to hit exit, add this graphic in. Okay, and everything else stayed the same, right? So once I select this graphic, if I go back to details, all of this stayed exactly the same, and that really helps so you don't have to duplicate these things over and over again. Especially when you have these really complex graphics, it makes it really easy for you to quickly change really small things. So when you have your core, more and less challenging, it's really easy to change those things really quickly. So as you see, the variables stay the same, duration, everything. So I'll hit save this time. Either of those buttons works. Again, it doesn't really make a difference. And then you're just going to go into the training session. So normally you would have all of your stuff built already, your graphics, your exercises, everything ready to put into this training session. So when I did mine, I had all this built out, but just for the sake of this video, I'm going to use those two repeatedly in this training session just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So you have my title, you say maybe just session, okay, same group. So when you go from exercise to session, you have to put all this stuff back in again. And it's just it's still relatively quick. You can hit next, or you can hit variables at the top. Either one works. You're going to add your number of players. So for me, it's 2 players. And then this session is probably going to last an hour. You can't put 1 because it says minutes, right? So go ahead and put 60 minutes. Then move on to the exercises. We'll go ahead and just drop these guys in. And one thing you guys might notice is that this little switch here, it'll say you have no exercises. Sometimes they get saved to grassroots. So go ahead and switch that back, and that might help you in showing up some of your sessions. So say I want to do the less challenging first, so I'm going to put that in. It's got all its qualities here. Then I want to add the core, and then going to hit select exercise. Then for these, I'm just going to throw in the same thing over again, or I'll actually grab some from my training session. So in your training session, you're going to have more than just 3, right? So really here you're probably going to have your core, your less challenging, your more challenging, and you also want your play 1, play 2 in there. So you go down here, you hit add another exercise. Okay, then it's the same process, right? So if I want my play 1, I'm going to go down and look for my play 1 that I already made in the exercises and graphics, add that to the session, and then it's here for me, right? So now I've got 4 instead of 3, so you don't have to stick with 3 exercises in one session. And then if you want this play 1 to be at the top, right, because this play 1 is going to happen before the core. So you can go ahead and click this enable reorder button, and then these arrows will pop up. So if I want play 1 to get all the way to the top, all I have to do is hit the up arrow, and you see my play 1 moved up 1. So if I keep hitting up, the play 1 moved all the way to the top for me. Then when I'm finished and I'm kind of happy with the order, I click this back and everything stays that way. So if you're going to have 5 sessions, which you probably are, your play 1, the 3 sections of your core, and then the play 2, you're going to go ahead and add another one, right? Go through here, find the session you've already made, add that in, and then that's already at the bottom, so you don't really need to reorder that. Okay, so again, same as before, you have save down here and save and exit. They do the same thing once you're at this point. And then you've got your training session, right? So here's my 11v11 D-course training session, then here's the other one I just made. These are now identical because they're both training sessions. So I'll just show you with my training session, but they will look the same. So if I hit go to session and I hit more actions, this is where you can make a copy, delete, or get that paper that kind of shows your entire session in detail, in visually for you. So if I want to have the paper like David had it in class today, you go ahead and hit condensed PDF export. That's going to take all of these sessions and shove them into 2 or 3 pages. Make it really compact for you, really nice, and it'll make it a PDF, easy to print off, and it's really convenient, right? It might be a little bit crammed in, but it's got all your information here really organized. Then it gives you your questions, you know, your elements of a training activity, and then your self-reflection questions at the bottom. Really helpful paper. So this is the compressed one now, or condensed. Now if I want it a little bit bigger, maybe I want to give myself space to write notes under my training session, or say when I created my training exercise, I wrote a lot of notes and I don't want it so crammed. If you hit full PDF export, it's going to give you a lot more space in between Now it will use more pages, but as you can see, right, you've got room to take notes. So that's probably the biggest upside to this, is that if you want to draw things here or write notes down, you have a lot more space to do that. It's shown a little bit more clearly, right? You've got neat graphics. It just depends on your preference, really. I've got a lot more space on this one, and it's a little bit more visually appealing just because of how much more space you have, but you are losing paper on this because of all this space you're using, so it's really just a matter of preference. Then you guys can go ahead and print these off if you want. Then of course, if I want to copy this, it's the same as it was for the last two. So you just hit copy, right? If I go through here, everything is completely the same. Nothing has changed at all. If I want to do the exact same training session, but say I think my less challenging was a little bit too easy, and now I want to add in something I've made now, when I take this out, it leaves this space. It doesn't drop these down, it leaves it for me because it knows I'm going to replace it. So if I hit select exercise, switch that back, and then go to put in the one I just created, I can throw that right into a training exercise I've completely made already without having to do all this extra effort of making the details again, making the variables, and putting all these exercises in again. All I have to do is copy it, make the demo change right here, and then hit save. And now you'll see I've got copy of the D-Course training session and then the original right here. And then since I'm not going to keep this, if I hit go to session, I can easily hit more and go ahead and delete this. It's going to ask me if I want to, just so I don't make a big mistake. Go ahead and hit yes. And there you go. That's pretty much how it is. If you want to access all of this stuff, you've got a lot of resources here to look through. I haven't looked through too much, but this library is pretty much where you're going to be. Again, use the planning section. Do not go to the course and assignments and build it there, because you might end up building the same session 5 times because you think you can't find it. So build it here, graphics, training exercises, and then training sessions. Do it in that order. It'll make your life a lot easier. Save and exit when you have to. And there you go. I hope this helped. Thank you.